What set you from? Look like one of them Crenshaw Mafia motherfuckers. No, you probably one of them rolling 60s, huh? Huh?
Call that 63, we have a possible 180.
Look at my car, look at my girl, look like the star. Look at my life, came up, nigga, we came so far, you see us.
Crenshaw,
Hey, you see us, nigga.
y'all ready?
Hey, look at my car, look at my girl, look like the star. Look at my life, came up, nigga, we came so far, you see
Nip it
us.
drum,
Hey, you see us, nigga. Hey, look at my face, look at my wrist, look at my waist. Niggas is fake. Number one reason we'll never relate. Me, I get cake, and I don't speak for them niggas that can't hustle the great. Setting up shop or running in banks. Fuck did you think? I would slow that? Fuck as you said. Niggas was playing. Me, I just went from a bucket to Benz. Up in the pen, where they predicted I'd be up in 10. Humble begins, but now I stunt so hard it don't make no sense. Flight to Japan, they pay me in cash, converted to yen. Bitch, I'm the man. Bitch, I'm the man. Bitch, I'm the man. Go get your friend. I fucked you already, can't fuck you again. Bitch, I'm the man. Bitch, I'm the man. I say it again. Pay me in cash. Fly to Japan and convert it to yen. BBC stores, we shutting them down. That's just how we is. That's just how we live. Your wifey the 20s and 50s we spend. The hundreds we stack. Then re-up the sack and do it again. Hey, look at my car. Look at my girl, look like a star. Look at my life. Came up, nigga, we came so far, you see us. Hey, you see us, nigga. Hey, look at my car. Look at my girl, look like a star. Look at my life. Came up, nigga, we came so far, you see us. Hey, you see us, nigga. Hey, look at my plate. Look at my steak, now look at my plates. Everything custom. Sitting on chrome, yeah, that's my fate. Look at my pace. Marathon life, now look at my race. Look at where I started. Look at my steak, gotta look at my way. What could you say? If it ain't salute, I gotta looking like hate. Looking like why? Some things in life you just can't debate. You just can't relate. Never drove cars from state to state with a trunk full of pounds on a 38. And I gotta get it type urgency. Nah, it's hot third degree. 10 toes in it like a pair of sneaks. Turf tricky, need a pair of cleats. Still I stay down and emerge the beast. Out of town, out of word for a week. Let a young nigga splurge in peace. We fucking up lineage, just me and my niggas. We ballin' like Nino and G. Was driving my Regal with heat. Capron had kilos for cheap. Was rolling but niggas was deep. The block was congested, my legal release. Was rapping and now it's so sweet. They actually bow to my feet. The women around me is freaks. The money is long, my power is deep. Look at my car. Look at my girl, look like a star. Look at my life. Came up, nigga, we came so far, you see us. Hey, you see us, nigga. Hey, look at my car. Look at my girl, look like a star. Look at my life. Came up, nigga, we came so far, you see us. Hey, you see us, nigga. Hey.
Now log on to thatpiff.com.
The hip-hop writer is a creator, composing understanding words of cultured brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation, simply the almighty leadership of insightful craft work that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly, uses his ears for the good to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian, he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show on S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life with the home sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living God, stepping to score, stepping in score, stepping in the score, stepping out of the score, and back in the score. Sunya Zala, a.k.a. S.STREET alone. We're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, and every timeless insight will be archived. This is the show, the only show about my element of hip-hop, the element of the writer of art on art and science on music. You know, and I've been counting. It's I think it's 25 years I've been doing this. You know what I mean? And it never fails to see history repeat itself. But history moves on. And this episode, I am calling it the Revolution episode because of notes that we're making about what is revolution, what is rebellion, what does that mean, though? You know, because a lot of today's revolution is really just liberal activism. It's just liberal activism, what I call, and when it goes into hip hop, I just call it the liberal arts. You know what I mean? The liberal arts movement. You know, we do marches, we do sit-ins, we do write-ins, we do what do we call that? You know, we do petitions. You know, all that shit. These are all liberal moves, though. This is not really revolution. You know what I mean? But there is embedded in the music, though, still a very revolutionary mindset, you know? But before we get into all that, there's some stuff to go into, you know? And maybe it's revolutionary. Maybe I'm losing sight of the revolution, you know? And, you know, my wonderful producer took me on a detour, and it was a wonderful detour last week. And, you know, sometimes, you know, I call it tour of duty. He sent me on a tour of duty. That's what it was. You know what I mean? I got too comfortable with good music. You know what I mean? I got too comfortable listening to things, and you know, I was listening to so much good music. I was getting bored between this boom bap guy and that lyricist and that fast, dexterous MC and this deep one. And oh man, he's got 100 different crates and he only has 50. You know what I mean? I was spoiled as fuck recently, right? But before I start, right? We had the last show I had was a great show with Skanks. We were at the 5 spot in Medina, Brooklyn. You know, and it was making me think about, I wanted to tell like the people what I'm trying to do here. You know what I'm saying? When I build with somebody, and I really don't shoot for a lot of interviews, I get asked to interview people asked to be interviewed by me more than I actually interview. And a lot of it is because, not because I don't like your music or anything like that, it's because I want to have a detailed conversation about a lot of stuff. And shit, that shit's got to last a whole hour and shit, you know? You just talk about like, if the artist is just going to come and talk about, hey, I got a new album dropping, you know, tell me why it's good, what cuts you got and shit, and then the answer is annoying though when you go, well, you got to hear it though. Well, why are you talking to me then? You know what I'm saying? Tell me what the fuck is going to be on this shit, or else don't, you know, we'll all wait together. I'm not going to wait with the audience, you know what I mean? But one of the reasons I love to interview artists, like especially in Skanks is the Ideal, is because they have such a deep catalog that has gone underappreciated. There's a depth to it, and I like to do where I like to get their insights about things, but also have my chance while they're there to really tell people what I think is being missing when people listen to the music. Like, what are they not hearing in things? And kind of make it a combination of what I'm hearing, what I'm thinking is science on music, a deeper build on it, you know what I mean? And then their insights about things that maybe they weren't asked, you know what I mean? I'm not going to ask the typical, you know what I mean? I'm not going to really ask too many questions about what they're up to, you know? Like, hey, what are you doing in life, you know what I mean? And shit like that. So, something different, you know what I mean? And that's what you can look forward to, you know? Because some people, they like to hate, you know what I mean? And they might not feel that they want to hear what I have to say about the artist while the artist is here, or propose different questions, you know? But when you propose, and this is for those people that are interested in really being and doing this as a journalist, when you decide to ask different questions, you want to work on brevity, the quickness of the question, but you also have to have a background. If you want to ask better questions, you're going to have to learn how to give a background so you could get past the simple question, you know? But a great show, man, and go, you know, thank you to Skanks. Thank you to everything he does. We didn't even talk about his great shows that much, the Bankai Hour Show, Radio Hour Show. And And what's the show? The hip hop trivia show. That's what it's called, right? The hip hop trivia show. Yeah, the hip hop Brainiac show where it's all hip hop trivia game. You know what I mean? And I got to get on that show and lose big too. You know what I mean? Because I intend to lose big though. So if it's an answer I don't like, even if I know it, I'm gonna answer something else. You know what I mean? Just so I can give a story why I gave the answer. Totally change the game, revolutionize it, right? But yo, if you go to premierhiphop.com, I have a piece that I wrote. And mind you, as a note, I'm really not putting too many pieces on Premiere because I'm saving them, or not really getting to a lot of the other ones, finishing a lot of the other ones because I'm finishing a book. This is a year of a lot of books I'm trying to finish, at least 2 of them that are in their last stages. And one of them, though, is the first one is called The Filtered Reel, Essays from the Invisible Renaissance, where 2018 and the music, mainly of 2018, is used as the fodder for that. It's mainly such a heavy year like we've never seen in hip-hop. And I wanted to really break that down because 2018, like a lot of years, but because that was such a heavy and overloaded year of quality, that is definitely going to be a year where you don't see a lot of documentation about it. You're not going to hear a lot of thoughts on the different records that came out. You know what I mean? Part of that is because a lot of the great MCs overloaded the year, so they don't really analyze each and every record. And a lot of great stuff gets dismissed too, or we don't get to see possible reasons what we could do why certain records were great. Like, what are the elements to go back to? What is to listen for? You know what I mean? And this is how we learn about a genre. This is how we learn how to appreciate records better, But SOBs held last week a Sound of New York concert. And I didn't know it sounded good, though, but I didn't know that my producer was setting me up for the kill. And he sent me out to SOBs, and, I get there, and I was like, I had a great attitude about it because I was like, yo, I finally get to study millennials. Like, I was in a millennial zoo, you know what I mean? It was like I was in a zoo of millennials, and just watching, how kids do it today, you know what I mean? And just watching them. I was really the only one that was all poloed out, though. Like, maybe there was a couple of pieces, like 1 or 2 pieces, but even my polo seemed like archaic in the cipher, you know what I mean? And it was a lot of youth everywhere, and most of the acts though were really from the soundbite management, so it wasn't really as diverse as the sound as what we would say the sound of New York. But what was interesting is that all the artists were from New York except for one of them. There was a very talented R&B group. I think the name was DNA 3. Like the words DNA and then number 3. And they were from Jersey. They were like an R&B group, but they were kind of singing and then kind of rhyming a little something over trap beats and the what I call the trap bap of the day. You know what I mean? Because they try to make it hardcore. You know what I mean? But in the end, though, it doesn't win with me because it's really all just dance music. You know what I mean? Most of this shit today is just dance music. You know what I mean? And I mean club music. Like most of the shit is just club music, CNC Music Factory with a little twist. It doesn't really have that oomph, you know what I mean, that boom bap has. But it is trying to be like that. And some guys will try to rap on it, you know what I mean? And I found it interesting some of the MC names that some kids chose. Like one of the brothers was rapping, and his name was Johnny Floss, though. Sounded like a doo-wop singer from the 1950s, though. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we got Johnny Floss here. Be the next Johnny Floss. Just call in 1-800-227-4449, And if you've got the look, we've got the record, you know what I mean? And and you'll be if you're that 35th caller, but he actually was rhyming, so I couldn't assume things by the names that I was hearing, Some guys had MC-like names, and then they rapped terrible, you know what I mean? So it's weird. But I also, for the life of me, if anybody was at that Sound of New York concert, you let me know. I didn't see a pair of Timbs that whole night. I went to a fucking New York concert, and I didn't see Timbs. I had on yellow duck boot polos, and that was the closest shit that came to Tim's. Even Gorilla Nems was there, and he didn't have Tim's on. You know what I mean? I think he was wearing like Air Max or something. You know what I mean? And it was the most New York that like gritty New York that I'm comfortable with that it got though. You know, because the way I like a sing along song is Nems, the way Nems does it. You know, fuck your life. Your whole life is garbage. Your baby mama's garbage. Your brother's garbage. You know what I mean? Like all that shit. You know what I mean? It's always a dynamic performance though. But check out that piece though, because I think if a lot of these young brothers, if they were A&R'd better, they would do better. And what I mean by A&R'd is that a lot of the young artists, they don't really have a musical knowledge. You know what I mean? So when they rhyme, though, they don't really know what rhyming is. They don't know what in the pocket is. They're not even requesting instrumentals, though. A lot of the stuff was being over the tracks themselves. And when it went off, they sounded like double time. You know what I mean? Like it sounded like weird. And when some of the kids couldn't keep up with their own track, it sounded real bad. You know what I mean? It just really sounded like a guy. When I see people stumble with the flow, I always envision people falling down staircases. So it just looks like they're falling down. Like there's like a ghost version of people when they rhyme to me, and if they stumble, it's like they're falling. You know what I mean? And that happened a lot. That happened a lot that night. But thanks to my producer, the one blessing though was there was this one sister who decided to twerk on stage, and one of her she had a Janet Jackson malfunction, and we saw all of that good stuff. I don't know what's real or not though. So I don't know if what I saw was real. You know what I mean? I don't know, because a lot of people, even the young girls go to Dominican Republic early. So, right? Who knows, right? But but check that piece out though. If they have more of a musical knowledge, they would have more idea of what they could do, possibilities, and even realize that some of the music of the day, they would be better equipped if they just dug in the crates and got better music, because some of the guys that were rhyming on music, like there was one Bronx MC, GIF, I think it was GIF, the GIF, something like that. He was from the Bronx. His cadence was very Sky Zoo-ish, if you want a comparison, which I hate doing. But he really could rhyme, and the trap beats were really limiting him, because you could tell that this guy's dexterity, he could get out the box, he could get out that limited box. But he wasn't, because that's what the beats that he was using, that style of beat, you know what I mean? And it also limits the content, because like reggaeton, if you get those kind of trap beats, it's all about the celebratory reality, you know what I mean? There's nothing else you're going to talk about. So it could really limit a lot of what you're saying, But check out the reviews so you can see the things, judge for yourself, see some of the artists. And if you're into them, though, check them out. You know what I mean? Don't let me be the final judge, But it was nice, though, to go contrast things and see what people are doing out there or trying to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say hip-hop is alive and well, though, because it didn't look that alive. But, you know what I mean? It is alive in other places. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was just that show, I'll tell you something, though. I'll let this be the marker. When I go to a hip-hop show, I always leave and never listen to hip-hop. I've gotten my feel. I've gotten hip-hop that I like, that was blasting in my ears all night. So let's say if I leave DJ Toshi's Rock the House shows on Wednesday at the Delancey, I don't listen to hip-hop. I listen to something else, you know what I mean? Something soft maybe, because my head is, probably hurting already, and I'm going to listen to some smooth shit, some jazz, if I'm still with the funk, I'll listen to some funk, whatever it is, salsa, whatever it is, right? Shit, if my head is hurting too much, I'll go to some smooth, even smoother shit, But after this show, I had to listen to, like, legends. I had to hear, like, I don't know, I got stuck on listening to Iron Man instrumentals, my RZA's Iron Man instrumentals. I just had to hear, like, because a lot of people don't know, RZA is one of the producers. This is why he's such a GOAT candidate. He's my GOAT, but for many reasons, but definite GOAT candidate. His instrumentals have value beyond just isolating the track without vocals. you will hear different shit on the instrumental versions that you will not have caught on the track versions. And the reason for that, like, let's say, probably happens with a lot of Bomb Squad joints, because Bomb Squad was throwing in so many tracks, but they never released their tracks, their music, really on the instrumental that much. But RZA throws in a lot of tracks, and a lot of, if you read the Wu Manual especially, and then I think he talks about this a little bit on the Tao of Wu, but definitely Wu Manual, RZA does something that is blasphemous to a lot of producers, but he doesn't really metronome his beats. So like once he gets the beat, he's not programming the beat to continue the whole way the same way. He's basically playing the beat on the machine. So if he's got the beat going boom 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 boom, he's doing boom boom boom. He's pressing boom boom boom. So what happens is you're hearing that not perfectly duplicated every time. So he's basically trying to give it a live drum feel. To him, that was what was making it live, you know what I mean, and dirty by doing it with his own hand, because no one could really time that. You're doing that, you know what I'm saying? I'd give it to a different type of genre that could time it better, because they always do it, like a salsa band or a merengue band, that you got a guy with a guido who's playing the guido on a snare for for 10 minutes straight, you know what I mean? But a lot of hip-hop, they're not used to that. So with RZA, you would hear it off, and that's why some producers, they hate on RZA, and that would be one of the reasons, which is, I think it's really unfounded. But I wanted to hear something like that. I always go to Iron Man instrumentals, because I'm not saying it's the best instrumentals, but I think it's for RZA, it was the best, the instrumentals that had the most hit into it, and it had the most soulful approach as far as like the way he was amplifying the crate. You know what I mean? Cuban Links, a lot of the beauty of Cuban Links is the dig. He had a lot of stuff that you really couldn't find. And then he also had really clever mergings, like Incarcerated Scarfaces. Go and, you know, go to the Legend Snitches on the internet, whosampled.com, and you could see the two songs that are sampled to merge and make Criminology, because it's one of the dopest mergings, because he merged this trio of soul sisters. I'm forgetting the name of the group, and then he merged this other soul group. I have the damn album cover in my head, but I'm forgetting the name of the group, and he merged them. And, Criminology is one of the dopest merges of two samples I ever heard. I probably pick it as the best. But Iron Man picks a beautiful soul element to it, and the beats are so thick and interwoven. Like, you're going to hear a lot in it. So I had to go with that, because I didn't get my hip-hop feel from the concert. But I did learn a lot about MCing and what kids are doing today, you know what I'm saying, and what kids can't do today, you know what I mean? But the theme of this episode, the rest of it, would be about revolution, those ideas, what is the building that goes on in revolution, and just some ideas, and a lot of scattershot ideas, because there were two events that happened in the last 3 weeks that one is one is altering to really much of the hip hop world, but the other one particularly that I'll speak about is really was life affecting for me in the most positive way. And before that, I just want to give you something that gives a tone. I always talk about art, and I had this piece, because revolution is not useful to anyone. To revolt, to go against what is, to allow the possibility for something new. And the most revolutionary mindset is those who have a thought on the possibility of what ought to be. And that's what makes a revolutionary. The ones who are daring to innovate something new, but they're always backed, if you really study, they're backed by some type of something that they intend to preserve that has not been preserved righteously. And that, in essence, we could call the principle. So I had a piece here. I just wanted to read it in the art segment. A piece I wrote recently. I put it on Holly Ali's, because there's no MC. You can't pick a more ideal MC of principle. And I called this piece Garments of Principle. And it goes like this. I said, garments of principle, all from a hold of twine, out that same damn low sweater. Memories, fractals of flesh, factor of 10 in hand. The eidolon of enemies, peripheral worries populate the trodden lands. It'll be a different day, one rising to come, and you and Ralph Stitch won't be tested. The new polo crest and that other big pony cable knit cardigan, gonna be the strangers you now adorn. Never to learn that battles in their flares dress the cotton, that the many incense with origins from India to Harlem have infused charisma into the movements and the fabrics of that once low-down, lonely garment. Too often the garments of our poverty are exchanged without emptying the pockets of pilfered principles, like that home-sewn 2LL patches clamped on the gray goose. Never forget the night I wrote something well enough to hail I, the new champion build, darned to a selvage that could never respect fake. Damn, that same damn low sweater. So anyway, on the revolution, right? I can't begin this without one of the most inspiring moments, fulfilling moments, or just feelings for me that happened recently was the renaming of the corner of 126th Street and 7th Avenue in Harlem, New York City, as a Law and Justice 5%er Square, you know? And it was named after Allah, who founded the 5% Nation of Gods and Earths. With his right-hand man, Justice, they pioneered the teachings of this throughout, that the original man is God, that there is no mystery God, that we are empowerers of our own selves and must save the babies and the children of our own communities. And we would do it under the guidelines of what we say is peace, the absence of confusion. And he did that so well that he was even given a school by the mayor of the time that he was alive in 1967, by Mayor John Lindsay. And we have that school and that property on that corner. And throughout those years, have been teaching at that school since 1967. That establishes what happened. What's now about 3 weeks ago, you know, and one of the beautiful things about it, right, is that for me personally, teaching in that school, the longest of anyone who's ever held a class, to be able to say that that's a place where the youth have always had a place to go. I'm honored that I did and do my part to have that available. So it was a moment of great pride. You know what I'm saying? And also vindication. You know what I'm saying? You know, I was telling somebody that, you know, my old earth, my mother, her whole life really thought that whatever work that I was doing good there was really in the name of street urchins, people that really weren't doing things for the community, and that it really wasn't worth it. And it was it was a level of vindication, not just for me, but for a lot of people whose work was denigrated, misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? Misunderstood. And we knew it. We knew going in that it could always be misunderstood. And to have that acknowledged, that we are really a community force, that we are now part of the history of that neighborhood. No matter how much they gentrify it, they still have to pass by 5%er Square. You know what I mean? Gentrifiers, they got to all hail. They have to look at that. They have to jog through and go, wait a minute, this is really about, okay, you know what I'm saying? And it's just righteous, and it's funky, because it's James Brown way, and Allah and Justice 5%er Square. So it's just like the dopest, funkiest corner ever. You know what I mean? It's just dope. You know what I mean? And I say this, though, and this is a prelude to what we talk about revolution. The 5%ers, we always saw knowledge as the revolution. We saw it as the truth, and the search for truth and the sharing of truth freely, without hindrance, without payment, without expectation, making us what we would say a poor righteous teacher, that's always given, you know, it's always given in our format of a culture of understanding. You know what I mean? Something that we have proven and something that we are living. And I think that over the years, our understanding has been unique, it has been massive, and it's nearly always been progressive. And it's been, in the short term, the 5%ers we were not seeing when the Father allowed the Father and justice were alive. What we were doing was not seen as revolutionary. It was not in line with a lot of other revolutionary movements that wanted to pick up guns, go at the man. Were pro-black and on many levels focused on being anti-white, where the Father was teaching that we're neither pro-black nor anti-white because what we're teaching is the truth. So if it seems pro-black, that's because you're taking it that way. If it seems anti-white, it's because you're taking it that way. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you told a person, hey, 1 + 1 is 2. Oh, wait, let's use a more that we can understand, though, right? Let's say we had a scientific fact that has been proven very easily by the common layman with layman's tools or with the most high scientific devices, and we said the earth is round, right? If we said that the earth was round, it still would be offensive to people, as we see, right? It's still offensive to people. They go, oh, no, the earth is flat. But so you're being anti-earth is flat. We're not really being that. What we're being, though, is we're being pro-truth and anti-devilishment. So that was and is the mentality, and now I'll be correlating some of those ideas that I've learned in what I have felt is being part of a revolutionary movement, and relate that to, you know, the other significant event was Nipsey Hussle's returning to the essence. And I think the best way for me to remember him in perfection on this broadcast is to talk about revolution, talk about a lot of the things that I thought really took him in the path of revolution. And you know, like I always do, because I talk so much about the science on music, a lot of people are curious why, you know, I never really talked about him. I never really wrote about him. And a lot of that has to do with the quality of the music today. You know what I mean? And I'm going to go into it as honest as I can. Because in many respects, the legend of Nipsey Hussle is a combination of the value of his life portrayed in the package of his music, and it amplifies the worth of his music. But it doesn't necessarily amplify the skill sets, the techniques, and the expertise of his musical quality. You know what I mean? In many respects, like let's say his crowning achievement really is Victory Lap. You know, I really feel that was his best work. From somebody who studied all of the other mixtapes, and I really dug into Mailbox Money, Crenshaw, and Marathon Continues, and that was clearly his best work because it culminated all of his themes. But I'm going to go into it more as we go along. I want to start with something, though, just to intro. You know, Nipsey Hussle, he said this in an interview, and I always want to highlight things that people don't really highlight. They highlighted a lot of other shit that is really fucking corny, you know what I mean? And they highlight, it's like we're supposed to really love his worth because he had money and because he had this, and that's not really what he was trying to be remembered for. He literally had bars saying, this is not what I want to be remembered for, and then they remember him for that, you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy. And look, he said, this is from an interview, a recent interview, right? And I'll cite the interview. He said, the least valued part of the game is the heart. Everybody operate off logic, what's good for them. And that creates opportunists. And that creates lack of code. Then you see all types of weirdo shit going on because everybody is working off logic, right? This is a good move. This is a good look. Yeah, but it's cold and there's codes and there's rules. And that's where the heart's going to stop you from doing goofy shit and just being disloyal and just playing yourself for the opportunity. You're going to consume the opportunity, and it's going to be done, and you're going to have on your record that the way you got to the opportunity was fraud. That's a direct quote, and that's from a 2017 interview at Power 106 Los Angeles, right? Let me tell you something. I have said that this entire decade of music, I have labeled it this era of music. I have labeled it the invisible renaissance. But I have also been saying a lot lately, and this is before Nipsey Hussle's passing. You know, everything I say is pretty much on record too. I have said that the veil of the invisible renaissance that makes it invisible is literally that they respect fake. Niggas respect fake. They allow fake. If you do something fraudulent, it's more impressive that you had the gall to do something fraudulent and succeed with something fraudulent. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's so, a lot of it is because we come from an era, you know, a lot of people don't know that every era is, this is just a thought, you know, but every era actually also gets marred by miseducation. See, you know, we talk about, when Carter G. Woodson was talking about the miseducation with Negro, in many respects he was talking about the lack of education. So they end up having to educate themselves. But Carter G. Woodson's use of the word miseducation is a little different now when I say miseducation. A lot of the flaws of our generations are also due to the miseducation of our people. In other words, they're actually educated incorrectly in the use of language, in the use of techniques, in the use of social sciences, in their own degree and master's work. You know what I'm saying? All you have to do is go to read The Root, go read Grapevine, watch those podcasts where they have these groups of young millennials and they talk shit and they use all these big words and they use all these appropriations of scholarly words, and it's all fucked up, their use. They clearly have not engaged anyone outside of anything. And it leads to what? It leads to ideas like non-black person of color. It leads to ideas, miscalculations about the music. It leads to a total movement, a total woke movement that makes no sense because none of these niggas is really woke. You know what I mean? It leads to liberal arts, though, where a lot of revolution is really just liberal moves that the establishment is okay with. Just because the establishment, the actual government, you know, if we want to go there, just because they give you a hard time to do something and then you achieve it, doesn't mean that you achieved revolution. You see what I'm saying? If you had a hard time getting a rally, a notice, so you could actually be allowed to rally at a certain block, and you got that license, that doesn't mean that you were in the revolution. You were supposed to have a difficult time, but it doesn't mean that you were Huey P. Newton. You were just you just sharpened some shit. Look at it, might have been sharp. You were sharpened. You were sharp a ton, but you was not really revolutionary. And the thing is, as our generation is so educated, they also are massively educated about the use of marketing and promotion. And what happens is that in this era, you also have the era of branding. You know, I don't know, but it's 2019. This is the last year of this decade, and I still kind of puke when someone tells me, like, you know, I'm just doing things for my brand. I always feel a little bit, yeah, you know, a little regurgitation. You know what I mean? Like, I feel a little queasy, like, when I hear guys say that shit. You know what I mean? And legends will say, like, I've heard Black Thought talk about the Roots brand, and this is just the way that you talk, though, but I still get a headache and shit. You know what I mean? It still fucks my head up. You know what I'm saying? And if I do something that helps people watch my show or read my article and people go, yo, Sunius, you got a good brand, though. I want to take a bath, though, like you know, crouched up in the bathtub. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know those movies where they get violated, though, and they take the bath. Like, fuck it, like Ace Ventura, though. When, you know what I mean? I'm taking the bath like that. You know what I mean? These kind of words, they disgust me. You know what I mean? But the magic of Nipsey Hussle starts with the ability to embrace so much of what is gruesome and disgusting and whack about this era, that is pop about this era, and make the shit bang. And I think the first goes with his name. You know, people like, they want to go Nipsey Russell. He got the name from Nipsey Russell. What I'm more focused on is that he said Nipsey Hussle. And hustle is the word like respect. You know what I mean? It's a twofold word. You know, we respect things. We respect, there's two types of respect. You respect the intent. When you say, I respect this individual, right? It means you might, at the highest level, it means you respect what they're about, their integrity, their, you know, their essence, what their moves. You respect them as an individual, as a human being. But then there's the looser, lesser form of respect where, like, you respect your enemy, like, you respect the abilities of someone, so you're not sleeping on them. And in this era, that's the most confused thing, where respect has become respecting an enemy or respecting something that is not right and exact, but it could be fearsome and you have to watch out for it, and then true respect at the highest level. The same goes for the word hustle. Hustle's a twofold word. You know what I mean? Hustle means hard work, but it also means, but in the streets, the hustle also means getting things done by any means necessary. And a lot of times the hustle's based on piece of shit means. A lot of the times hustle is saluted based on denigrating anything in your path to get to where you need to go. And this is where hustle becomes a negative thing, where people go, I'm not really about this hip-hop shit. I'm just making music right now. This is my new hustle. And this is where we have to differentiate the two. But when Nipsey Hussle was rhyming and he said his name was Nipsey Hussle, it's because he really was gifted in working hard. He really had an abnormal work ethic. And in my life, right, some of the people that I know, and I'm looking at one of them, you know, at two of them now, my producers here, two of the greatest hustlers in the universe that I know. This hustle, he did a lot of things that they did. Like, when I see people with, like, if you watch old interviews with Nipsey Hussle, before he blew up, he takes you to Crenshaw, and he just started the line. Remember, he was doing these things, these storefronts and all these things, before he was really a household name. So he probably was investing a lot of there probably would have been a lot of fallout and failure if his businesses didn't work. You know what I'm saying? If these businesses that he was making didn't work, he probably wouldn't have been able to maybe succeed as an MC or be very troubled to record and continue. So it really was a daring movement. And in the early goings, though, he'd go to his place and he'd have a wall with no posters. There was no, like, influential things, like nothing to inspire, like maybe an album cover poster or nothing like that. Like, you know, like we're New York, right? If you went to any studio in the 90s, like a Brothers Dingy studio, you saw a million stickers of everything that they thought was dope. It was a sticker culture, poster culture. We had everything. We collected this shit. We stole people's posters. You know what I'm saying? We went to buy albums and get the poster that came along with it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when you wanted a sticker, if it was put brand new, you tried to scrape it off. You know what I mean? And you could use it again. Right? We still do it if we find it and it's dope. If that shit was just newly put, we're going to take it. But Nipsey Hussle's place had nothing, bare walls. But it had writing on the wall. He would write quotes of inspirational quotes. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that some of the best hustlers and men that do a lot without anything that I have learned from have done. Quotes of inspiration, though. You know, studying other people that have succeeded in the fields that they expect to succeed. You know what I mean? This is what Nipsey Hussle was doing. And the thing is, I want to talk first and continue about the conspiracy of it all. But the best way to talk about this, though, is really from a verse that he had. I'm going to quote a verse that he had. Nipsey Hussle, this is a quote from Nipsey Hussle's song. He said, "Murder is a fact when you're out here in the field, because jealous niggas dealing with emotions only bitches feel." I sound funny when I say it, right? Like, I say it all matter-of-factly. And 9 times out of 10, they just want a friend. But I've been real before rap, so I won't pretend. Tell them till they face all the flaws that I'm noticing. I've never fucked with your type, and I won't begin. And then it's, oh, we on this high horse. But bottom line, bitch, nigga, this is my horse. Never killed nothing. You just wait on it to die first. But this gonna be the season that you vulture niggas fly north. Man, if that's not a prophetic verse about what his choices were at the end and what he was doing, that's from a song called Forever on some fly shit. It's also one of the songs that he really rhymed well. Like, you know, and the more that he felt the verse, the more he lived it, the more he had better flow, the more he had better diction. You know what I'm saying? And that was from 2010's The Marathon Continues, if you're looking to match it up. And all his music is free on Dat Piff. You can get it all. And Victory Lap, I'm going to say this. Victory Lap, if you want to do the man an honor, buy Victory Lap. Go buy Victory Lap. He really does own the masters to all these records. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to say this, right? And these are just some notes I had, you know what I'm saying, over the weeks. I thought he was a very good MC, and I'm going to go into what he was as an MC, what he didn't have. I thought he was getting better. You know, when you hear Victory Lap and you hear the other stuff in contrast, it was clear that he was getting better. And a lot of that is because he was becoming a greater man. He was becoming successful in the greatness that he had in his mind. So what it was focusing the themes that he rapped about. You know, and this is where hip-hop is supposed to be real. It would make you a better artist because you actually speak about the things that you live, and hopefully those things would be as filled with integrity and principle as the way that you engage in the music with integrity and principle, which is what we expected. You know what I mean? But I say this, so, you know, one of the first things that I heard, though, and I just want to get this out because this is in my notes. A lot of people were like, yeah, see, that's what happens when you talk too much and you're out there speaking the truth. They always kill you and things like that. This is the thing. And one thing that I've always hated, right, was we always immediately, and we usually do this, we always say that somebody should have acted and behaved in a more covert way. We always say that in retrospect. And people will probably continue saying that about Nipsey. He should have worked in a covert way. Shit, off air, we were probably mulling it over. We were mulling it over too. But in the things that he was saying on record, he was very blatant. He was very out there. And let me tell you something. He said a lot of stuff on record in that Victory album that a lot of the people that were in there in the studio were like, oh, man, that's me. I'm the bitch nigga he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? There were fake fucks in the studio. Because I read the liner notes. Some of the fakest fucks that live in the industry were in the studio working with him. This guy was magical. You know, he was navigating through the mud. The industry is a sewer of mud. You know what I'm saying? And if you navigate it, I'm more impressed by it. But we always say that when one of our people died, we say they could have done things more covertly. And we always say that, though. And what happens is that the 10%, the bloodsuckers, always slide in and give you the acceptable version of revolution, masked as like some liberal activism. You know, oh, he gave some money here. He's really the one. And we're in an era where the young MCs of today that are blowing up, and a lot of them are blowing up in a format of trap bap. They're blowing up in a format of trap bap, and that's what's happening. They blow up in a format of trap bap, and they're not really that lyrical. And I guess Meek Mill is one of the best examples right now because he's, you know, and they're not really that deep about their revolution. It's really just levels of activism, and they're starting, but they also are in danger of being co-opted and being compromised by all of those veterans that want to give advice and guide you through the industry. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't trust anybody that was at that fucking Rock Nation brunch. You know what I'm saying? Now that's a lunch where I wanted to bathe the minute I got out of that lunch. You know what I'm saying? Take a bath after you get out of that one. You know what I mean? What are you going to learn about making quality music with integrity with the likes of all these people around you that barely do it, that do it occasionally? You know what I mean? Do it when they feel like it. You know? But to me, Nipsey died fearless, uncompromised. He's building where our people understood him. He was never over their heads. That's got to be honored, and we need to speak on assuring brothers are protected when they build, not merely expecting them to say enough, just enough to get us open, to get us woke, and then we do something else. What do? Because we're not doing shit. You know? We just retweet a nigga that's woke. We retweet. We retweet woke. That's a tongue twister right there. We retweet woke. You know what I'm saying? But look at this, though. This man was dealing with the industry. This, you know, all of the conspiracy theories, I'm not going to deal with any of them, though, right? But I'm going to say this about his MCing, because we talk about the science of music and where he ranks. He doesn't rank that high. Last year was a revolutionary year in the quality of the music. Not the peaks of quality, but the amount of quality of the music. And Nipsey Hussle's victory lap isn't there. It isn't there. It isn't. It's in the top 40. It's not in the top 20. And the thing is that the records in the top 20 are from artists that also have multiple works. So it's crowded. You know what I'm saying? So if you pick a guy like, let's say, look, Napoleon the Legend. If you talk about him as one of the guys with the top 20, you also have 4 other albums you've got to talk about him. And qualitatively, they are at a higher level than what Nipsey was making. Nipsey was making the music of the day, but in such a package that it worked. But Nipsey was a respectable MC cadence-wise. He pretty much was doing a trap bap flow where they're yelling their verses in a very, you know, in a very a chopped and phrased yell, you know? Because we're doing this for the good, Crenshaw, and you know, when you know, a lot of people don't know, they always get hyped because of, yo, my man, Kendrick Lamar, he double times and shit like that. These flows are basic. They're easy to double time because if you stumble, all you have to do is over-inflect. So if you're like, you're trying to rhyme as fast as you can, and you stumble, all you gotta do is say you stumbled. Nigga, I stumbled, fumbled, get with the bumblebee, and then keep going, nigga, see? And you never really, the simpler flows are designed because simple niggas made them up. You know what I'm saying? Simple niggas made them up, and simple listeners, simple industry niggas told them this was the way to go. And the simpler the skill level, the easier it is to replace you. It's easy to replace you, rapper, if everybody can do that shit. You know what I'm saying? If Pharoah Monch was the standard that the industry made the music, we'd have like 5 rappers. We'd have a lot of great MCs would be like, I'm never going to get on the radio. Like if Pharoah Monch was the level of radio access, because he does stuff on a higher level that nobody can do. But what makes Nipsey Hussle is that he represented Crenshaw, and he had the greatest Crenshaw accent since Snoop Dogg. He accentuated that accent perfectly, and it was because he had enunciation. He really pronounced his words really perfectly. That's a real skill. You know what I'm saying? And he knew how to make it like anthemic. And you know, let me tell you, it's easy to make anthems if you're living the life that makes anthemic hype reality. He was hyping niggas with his moves. He was opening stores, so he's out there inspiring people. His life is a fucking anthem. When he made Victory Lap will go down as one of the ideal great anthemic albums of all time, because it really was an anthemic celebration. Victory Lap literally is a celebration of all the work that he did and the community experienced. If I ever go to Crenshaw I'm not playing nothing else. You know what I'm saying? I might be banging doggy style in my ears, you know what I mean? When I need to hear like the best beats that ever came out of that area. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going for that anthem, like We Made It, you know, this was Ghost Dini's We Made It times like 12 tracks, you know what I'm saying? And he did it, you know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. A lot of times you know, we prefer the basicness of the boom bap, but there are levels that where if you want to see where there was more that meets the eye in his skill level, listen to songs like Face the World, produced by Ninth Wonder, where you see him on a boom bap beat. The skills are there. The skills are there. You always want to see if somebody has skills, give them a basic boom bap. You know what I mean? Songs like Top Down, where the deep bass drums force him into a different pocket. You know what I mean? The songs are there, but that conversational tone, that cadence, you know what I'm saying? It really was a gift that a lot of people don't have. And again, it makes all the visuals very sincere. Even the visuals become sincere. Like, for example, Racks in the Middle. You watch the video, and at the end, he's on the jet, and he's celebrating with the champagne, not with anybody else, but his grand old earth, his grandma. You know what I'm saying? Everybody relates to that. All of us dream of doing that. You know what I'm saying? We would love to give our elders the high life. You know what I'm saying? Give them a taste of that. You know what I'm saying? Because we made it. So it was beautiful stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about Victory Lap because it had all those things. You know what I'm saying? Listen to Million While You Young, and then listen to this quote from NPR interview. I just wanted to talk about the journey and what that's like. How unlikely it is to not go to the feds, not get life in jail, not get killed or betrayed, and turned on by your people before you touch that million. It was just a celebratory expression. You know, and examples of examples of this are all throughout the album. You know what I mean? It really is perfectly titled. It's perfectly done, you know what I'm saying? All the songs, the videos like Double Up, you know what I mean? There are, you know, baller videos that are bullshit to me for everybody else, but they mean something with him. They mean something with him, even the treatments, you know what I mean? And I got some other commentaries about today's music and how that abused, and we're going to go into that on the next shows, but you got songs like Sucker Proof where he said, we're going to tell you to buy out the block, you know what I'm saying? And we're going to support the businesses and create tourism around here. This is Crenshaw Boulevard. This is a famous street. You know what I mean? He was giving anthems, but he also was giving the direction. And a lot of the stuff that Tupac was blueprinting, like if you read the book Tupac Shakur Legacy and literally read like the blueprints that he was doodling, what he was doing in that one block radius was really what he was trying to do, you know? And you know, it was just amazing. I'm going to say this, though, right, as we wind down here. Nipsey's MC themes, he was anti-black on black crime. He was about the unity between black and brown, exemplified by that song he did, Fuck Donald Trump, you know what I'm saying, and his verse on that. And by the way, fuck Laura Ingraham for the racist shit she just said on Fox Sports Radio. You can't be more devilish than that. If you want to be devilish, well, how can I tell the devil what to do? That's what they do, right? Salute, right? Because that's what you do, right? Show us. But the idea of fake niggas was a theme. And also, in his music, the Judas and the Crew was a major theme. It was a major theme, and it reminds me of Guru. Because I was talking about Guru in our show about Guru. I had to deal with the Solar Book and all that bullshit. Guru rhymes so much about the Judas and the Crew. And it's so sad that these great men were taken down by that same Judas, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to leave it here because it'll probably be another part I want to do in this. We'll part two this in the next show. I want to talk about a little bit about the business. I want to talk about revolutionary MCs and other MCs that are revolutionary and what they've done. I want to talk about what is the role of us as a listener. What is a listener? Because a lot of this is our fault. We've become just a gross consumer. And remember, Nipsey Hussle had to be a business genius to turn the consumer into a investing revolutionary. We are terrible with the way we consume our own culture. And we got to be better with that. So the next episode, I'm going to continue this revolution episode as a part 2 in the next episode. You know what I mean? Because there's so much more to say. You know what I mean? So until next time, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. I'm your host, Sunya Zala, a.k.a. S.STREET Low. And as always, the Power Right Show is a never respect fake broadcast. Peace.